the mic to sir, and I will request sir to continue with his lecture.
Right.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Those very kind and undeserved words. Yeah, I thought I would be discussing the application of the Marxist method um, to Mughal historiography, um, to look at issues of representation of class, caste, and social contradictions in pre-colonial historiography, focusing on the historiography on the medieval and the Mughal world. Um, you see, I mean, until the um, until the last couple of decades, since the 1960s, one could easily argue that South Asian historiography was dominated by the Marxist method. The 1960s was exceptional in that regard because you had someone like Rabindranath Thapar and R.S. Sharma doing ancient history, both very strong Marxist historians. You had someone like Irfan Habib doing medieval history, and you had someone like Bipin Chandra doing modern history. Not just Bipin Chandra, you had Bipin Chandra, you had Barude and others. But uh, uh, I think it's an important question to ask as to why. Uh, why was there such an extraordinary dominance of Marxist historiography or the Marxist method as a tool of writing history uh, until the last couple of decades when there have been different perspectives emerging from the way we do history. You see, it's important to ask as to what questions about our past were better answered by the application of the Marxist method, but obviously also what issues in our past were occluded because of the dominance of the Marxist method. So, uh, uh, I mean, obviously, uh, there's also this question of how was the Marxist historiography applied to the Indian historical experience. It would certainly be wrong because all these were very creative historians. It would certainly be wrong to accuse any of these historians uh, of mimesis, of copying the Marxist method without actually interrogating its application to the Indian historical experience. That's not the case. So the charge of mimetic uh, application of Marxism is certainly not a valid one. Uh, and therefore, we need to look at the level of attentiveness that these historians had on the Indian historical experience, and how did that uh, mold their way of engaging with the Marxist method. Huh? So these are very important questions, and I'm not in a position to be able to answer all of them here. But I think it's important to probe these questions, and I'm going to do that by focusing uh, dominantly on the historiography on the Mughal period and the medieval period, and see how historians of medieval India uh, looked at or applied the Marxist method to the writing of the pre-colonial historical experience. Uh, you see, I mean, obviously, the influence of Marxism on the writing of pre-colonial history actually goes back to the colonial period. So you have in the 1940s, for example, several important historians trying to apply the Marxist method to understand the historical past of India. And one particular historian of repute there was Muhammad Habib, who is believed to be the founder of what came to be known as the very influential, very powerful Aligarh school of Mughal historiography. Um, you see, Muhammad Habib was quite fascinated with Marxism, but he was also very fascinated with nationalism. So there is actually a very astute integration of Marxism with nationalism in his understanding of medieval India. Um, he was also, he was also not willing to see religion as a part of a superstructure in the way most traditional Marxists do. So he was also very conscious of the creative historical impulse in religion in the medieval period. So there is actually a combination of nationalism, Marxism, and religion in the way he formulated, in the way he used the Marxist tools to understand medieval India, to understand processes of historical change in medieval India. Um, and true to the Marxist method, he came up with the idea, of what came to be known as urban revolution, using the Marxist terminology of revolution. He did not see the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate um, as a regime change, but saw it as marking an important revolutionary moment in Indian history. Um, and he thought that equating, and this is another issue with Habib, equating caste with class. He saw the success or the establishment of the Sultanate rule in India as a result of the revolution of the lower caste groups against caste discrimination and upper caste dominance. The lower caste communities were mostly the artisanal communities, and so he thought. And therefore, the artisans who belonged to the lower classes, lower castes, were equated with lower classes in his formulation of historical change. So he thought that the establishment of Delhi Sultanate uh, marked an uprising of the lower caste communities in India, lower caste urban communities in India, and therefore he termed the establishment of Sultan dynasty in India as marking an urban revolution. You can see how this shifts the trajectory of understanding historical change, looking at the moment of the establishment of the new dynasty in India as constituting a moment of social transformation. So the idea of revolution, the idea of lower class uprising, the equation of caste with class were all models that he derived from his understanding of Marxism. He also thought in that the 14th century uh, the 14th century saw another revolution, which he termed as the rural revolution, which is the revolution of the agricultural working classes, the agricultural workers, landless laborers against the landed aristocracy. So you can see how again, he looks at the establishment of the Khilji dynasty and what is termed as the Indianization of the Khalji rule as as constituting a moment of revolutionary change caused by the class struggle between the landed aristocracy and the landless labor. Uh, is it clear? Can we, is it clear so far?
Yes, sir.
You see, so this is the perhaps the earliest instance of the application of Marxist methodology to understanding processes of historical change in the pre-colonial period. There were deep problems in his formulations, and one important critique of both the urban revolution, the thesis of urban revolution, and the thesis of rural revolution came from his son, who is also a Marxist historian, Irfan Habib. Uh, Irfan Habib pointed out that he was looking at caste through normative didactic texts, through the Smriti literature, which were actually far removed from the real historical experience. In the way caste operated in medieval India, it's very different from the kind of impression we get of the caste from normative texts such as Manusmriti. So the kind of picture of oppression, the kind of picture of pollution, the kind of picture of segregation that he imagined to be the case in the medieval period was actually overstretched. Second, he also pointed out that caste was a very malleable category. We will come back to these issues if we have time later. But he thought caste was a malleable category, not quite as rigid as it became in the colonial period. But the most substantive argument of Habib was that if caste uh, and caste inequities was the basis for the establishment of the Sultanate and the Mughal rule in India, uh, let's not forget that all through the Sultanate, all through the medieval period, as also the Mughal rule, there is not a single instance of the condemnation of the caste system by the political elites, by the historical chronicles, by the intellectuals of the period, or by the theological classes. Caste was something that was just as much acceptable to the Indo-Muslim ruling classes as was the case in the period before the Sultanate. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
That's not the issue here. The issue is that this was the earliest attempt, this was the first attempt to engage with the Marxist method in understanding processes of historical change. And this did actually create the framework for the dominance of Marxist historiography in what came to be known as the Aligarh School. The Aligarh School is certainly, or has exercised, an immensely domineering role in shaping the writing of medieval and Mughal history. And you have several important Marxist historians who belong to this school, Muhammad Habib being one. But then you also had Nurul Hasan, who's another Marxist historian. If we have time, we'll discuss him too. You have Irfan Habib for sure, and we will be focusing on him more than the others. And you also have Iqtidar Alam Khan, who is a card-holding member of the Communist Party. So that the Aligarh school and the way they look at the shaping of historical change in the pre-colonial period was decidedly influenced by the Marxist method. Now, one of the earliest attempts is the audience all students or are there faculty as well? I mean, if there are students, I need to know that they are making sense to them.
Mixed group, sir. It's a mixed group.
So you have the freedom to interrupt me and tell me if anything is not clear. Anybody? Yeah. So I mean, one of the earliest instance of Marxist historians from Aligarh engaging with issues of issues concerning the application of Marxist method to the writing of Indian history came with two seminal essays. One was by Irfan Habib, who wrote this very important essay called Marxist Perception of India. And the second was by Iqtidar Alam Khan, who wrote another important article, which was called Marx's Assessment of the Islamic Tradition. And now these were the earliest effort to critically engage with Marxist writings on the non-European world, particularly South Asia. And and from these two essays, as also from Marx's own readings, you can notice that there are 3 or 4 important components in the way Marx saw historical change in the pre-colonial world. One was that Marx understood that the European historical experience and the sequential change in the mode of production, from feudalism to capitalism to socialism, or whatever, is not applicable to the Asian world, to the non-European world. And therefore, he formulated a very different mode of production. I hope that you are aware with this mode of production, isn't it? So he envisaged a very different model of mode of production for the pre-colonial uh, for the pre-colonial Asian world, in particular South Asia, and he termed this the Asiatic mode of production. Now, there are three or four components to this Asiatic mode of production model. One is what he termed as, I hope it's clear. One is what he termed as Oriental despotism. That is to say, you have a political system is structured around an extremely coercive, extremely exploitative despot. So, in his understanding, then the rulers, the pre-colonial rulers in India, that included the Mughal, the Sultanate, and even before them, all the rulers before them, were extremely exploitative despots. So the ruling class tended to be hugely exploitative within what he termed as the Asiatic mode of production. Now, since the ruling class is exploitative, it appropriates the entire surplus from the economy. Is it clear? And if the surplus is appropriated by the state, what you get is a classless society, because it is only through the unequal distribution of surplus that you have the formation of classes. So pre-colonial India was, in Marx's understanding, a classless society. Okay? Historical change within the Marxist methodology, within the Marxist understanding of social change, occurs only when you have classes and when you have class conflict. So that each class conflict pushes the society to a higher and a different mode of production. Is this clear? Now, since you did not have classes in medieval India, since you did not have classes in Mughal India, naturally what you're arguing that this is a society that had no history. So dynasties change, rulers change. You had the Sultanate rulers, you had the Mughals, you had Babur or Jahangir or whatever, but the social formation remained unchanged. It was, according to Marx, therefore, you had what he termed as an egalitarian village community. The village community in India, so he thought, because there is no unequal distribution of resources, is primarily classless. And if it is classless, then everybody is equal. So it's egalitarian. And if it's egalitarian, it would necessarily also be democratic. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
It is only with the coming of colonialism that he thought that historical change begins to take place. And it is for this reason that he believed that colonialism had both a destructive and a regenerative role in South Asia. Right?
Yes.
Now, for Marxist historians working on the pre-colonial period, this is actually a tough capsule to take.
Yes.
And one of the most persuasive critique of Marx comes from the historians of the Aligarh school, several of them, but I'm going to focus here on Irfan Habib. Now, Irfan Habib pointed out, first of all, that this formulation of the Asiatic mode of production is extremely erroneous because of three reasons. Firstly, because you do not have evidence of an egalitarian village community. His own studies, as that of other historians too, particularly Nurul Hasan, Noman Siddiqui, and several others, pointed out that the village community in India, pre-colonial India, was highly differentiated. And if it's a differentiated, you have big zamindars, you have talukdars, you have landlords, you have pus, muqaddams, chaudhries, you have peasants who own land, you have landless laborers. Clearly, it's a highly differentiated world. And if it's a differentiated world, then clearly surplus did exist in the society, surplus was unevenly distributed in the social world, and therefore certainly this model uh, of Oriental despotism as also the model of Asiatic mode of production was inadequate. Well, doesn't. Yet uh, let's not forget that these historians were decidedly Marxist in terms of their approach to historical change. But there is this problem for them. The problem is to look at the Marxist approach to history and apply it to the Indian context, yes, so that they could not let go of the historical specificities in using the Marxist tool to write or to understand historical change. Is this clear? Yes. And it is for this reason that I notice that in the works of some historians, particularly Habib, for example, there is certainly a very creative engagement with Marxism. And there are, as I repeatedly say, there are actually efforts that he goes 2 steps forwards and 1 step backwards in terms of his engagement with Marxism. So let me take up a couple of instances here. You see, he 3 instances. He rejects the thesis of technological stasis. You must understand that in Marxism, technological change is crucial to processes of historical change, because that ruptures the balance of class relations, creates new forms of class struggles, and pushes the society to a different mode of production. And Marx thought that because there is no technological change taking place in this period of time, and his term was that these were societies that suffered from technological stasis. Habib wrote, I don't know how many, 6, 7 monumental essays to point out that that's not the case. And his work showed important technological changes taking place in the realm of agricultural production, in the realm of non-agricultural production, in the realm of manufactures and industry and armaments as well. So that the thesis of technological stasis is wrong. And yet, you see, he therefore rejects Marx on his thesis of technological stasis, but then goes along with Marx in saying that none of these technological developments were enough to push for a change of mode of production. So you see, he takes 2 steps forward, 1 step back. He also thought that since it's a highly differentiated world, the most appropriate method of understanding historical change is through classes. So he believes in the existence of classes in medieval India. But he rejects class struggle. So for South Asia, for pre-colonial South Asia, he has a very unusual characterization, and that is that you have classes without class struggle. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
But why was this the case? Because if you're working within the Marxist paradigm, you would say that the presence of classes would naturally lead to class conflict, and these class conflict would lead to the shift from one mode of production to another. But why is this not happening in India in the Mughal period or even the Sultanate? He thought that the crucial inhibiting factor here was the caste system. The caste system uh, prevented prevented the development of class solidarities, partly because the caste system provided to all classes in India a, a reserve of cheap, unskilled, free labor. And therefore, the caste system was as much beneficial to the landlord as was the case with an ordinary peasant. Both needed free labor, both needed a class of rural proletarians to exploit their labor. And therefore, the conflict of interest between the landlords and the peasants could not occur because caste inhibited this. So you have a very peculiar social formation, according to Habib, uh, in the medieval world, where you see the presence of classes, but you don't see the existence of class conflict. In a way, then, you see what he's again doing is he he rejects Marx here, but he also enforces or supports Marx in making the argument of the of the failure of the impossibility of historical change taking place in this period. Because if class conflict is essential to historical change, then you are also arguing that there are no inputs for historical development, or there are no inputs for the formation of new production processes in the medieval period. Do I make sense?
Yes, sir.
You see, again, he rejects, and this is something that I don't know how much time do I have. I can go.
The session is till 4, so you have time, sir.
You have time. I would want to end quick so that you can have discussion. But anyway,
Yes.
let me finish my point then. Yeah. So again, he rejects the model of Oriental despotism. He thought Marx got it wrong when he argued that that you have the Asiatic mode of production, which functioned through the presence of an over-exploitative state, which expropriated the surplus and prevented the formation of new social classes. He rejects all of that, but he does see the state as the state and the ruling classes as an extremely exploitative social force in the Mughal period. And since it may not be the entire surplus, but it is through the institution of the state, it is through the rulers and the ruling classes that the surplus was appropriated and redistributed across the socio-economic landscape. Huh?
Yes,
So even as he rejects Marx on his formulation of an overexploitative state, he still retains the perception of state determinism. So the state may not be overly exploitative, but the state is certainly the primary and exclusive agent of historical change. And it is for this reason, you see, that he looks at agrarian developments, he looks at the lives of the peasants, he looks at the lives of the zamindars, he looks at the lives of merchant communities, he looks at processes of urbanization. But all these discussions center on the agency of the state. So when he discusses the peasants, his primary concern and his understanding of their historical experience is conditioned by the significance of the role of the state. So his discussion on issues that are actually largely economic and even cultural come back to the centrality of the state. So there is actually no historical imagination here that excludes the agency of the state, because he does see the state, and this is not specific to Habib. We'll come to this debate. This is so very central to most studies on the Mughal Empire, particularly those emerging from Aligarh school and those influenced by the application of Marxist method to writing history. But there is an element of state.
For the mic to sir, and I will decode